A journey of self-redemption from wilderness to classroom. Opening. A girl's call from the wild. In the state of Idaho, USA, there stands a mountain called Buck Peak, silent and towering, bearing witness to a girl's journey from an isolated childhood to the wide-open world. Her name is Tara Westover, born in 1986, with no birth certificate, never attending a single day of formal school, yet earning a PhD from Cambridge University by age 27. Her story sounds like a legend, but it's real enough to tug at your heart. This book isn't just about the power of education, it's a raw tale of how one person finds themselves and breaks free from extreme circumstances. Have you ever wondered who we could become without schools, teachers, or even a basic sense of identity? Tara's story offers an answer. Education isn't just about passing down knowledge. It's the key to waking up your true self. But this isn't your typical feel-good success story. Tara's childhood was steeped in danger and absurdity. Her father was an extreme survivalist, convinced the end of the world was near, rejecting modern medicine and schooling. Her mother was a submissive helper who later turned to herbalism. Her brother Sean ruled the family with violence. Growing up in this environment, Tara learned to scavenge metal in a junkyard and dodge her father's wild schemes in the mountains. Yet, she eventually chose to walk away, stepping into a classroom and opening a door to a new life with a pen and a book. At its heart, this book asks, how does someone wake up from ignorance, and how do they find a way out of the tangle of love and pain? Let's step into her world and uncover the answers, one piece at a time. Chapter 1. A childhood in the wild where ignorance meets survival. Tara's childhood had no textbooks, no teachers, not even friends. Her world was boxed in by the shadow of Buck Peak, where her father, Gene, a fervent Mormon, saw the government as the devil's tool and schools as brainwashing machines. He raised his 7 kids on that mountain, stockpiling food, fuel, and guns, gearing up for doomsday. Tara's days were spent helping her dad dismantle wrecked cars or mixing salves in her mom's herbal workshop. She recalls a childhood accident. Her father fumbled with a forklift, and a chunk of metal crashed into her leg, blood soaking the ground. Her mom didn't take her to a hospital. Instead, she smeared homemade ointment on the wound, while her dad called it God's will. Tara learned to endure, and she learned to fear. This life seemed detached from the world, but it was riddled with contradictions. Her father shunned modern medicine, yet relied on her mom's herbal business to make money. He despised the government, but traded with outsiders at the junkyard. Her brother Tyler secretly taught himself and escaped to college, the first to break away. Meanwhile, her brother Sean took after their dad's paranoia, using his fists to discipline his siblings. Tara remembers Sean once shoving her head into a toilet, just because she'd accidentally dirtied his shirt. In that moment, she felt humiliation and the first stirrings of awakening. This family's way of life begs the question, is ignorance a shield or a chain? Could the walls her father built with religion and fear really hold back the outside world? Tara's childhood shows us that ignorance might keep you safe for a while, but it can't set you free. Her story starts to fracture here as doubt and yearning take root. Let's dig deeper into the details of this family's daily grind. Tara paints a winter scene, snow sealed off the mountain, and her father ordered everyone to dig a path to the barn, convinced the blizzard signaled the apocalypse. The kids' hands and feet went numb from the cold, but they didn't dare stop, with Dad standing by, shovel in hand, muttering Bible verses. Her mom brewed a bitter herbal soup in the kitchen, claiming it would ward off the chill and keep them alive. Tara nearly gagged drinking it, but she didn't dare refuse. Back then, she had no clue the world beyond offered heat, hospitals, or winters free of dread. Another time, her father decided to fix a junk truck himself. He knew nothing about mechanics, but insisted God would guide him. The engine blew up, shards flying everywhere, nearly hitting Tara nearby. She recalls him brushing it off, saying, "It's God's test." This absurd confidence defined her early years, slowly revealing to her that his faith wasn't truth, it was obsession. That obsession shaped her childhood and planted the seeds for her eventual escape. Chapter 2. The Cost of Awakening, Family Ties and Self Torn Apart. Tara's awakening began with her brother Tyler. He secretly bought an old encyclopedia set, taught her math and reading, and handed her a college entrance exam form. At 17, Tara stepped into an exam room for the first time, staring at a test paper full of words she barely recognized. With scraps of self-taught knowledge, she muddled through and somehow got into Brigham Young University. This Mormon-run school became her first stop and the starting line of her clash with family. At college, Tara felt like an alien among her peers. She didn't know what the Holocaust was, had no clue about the Civil War, and hadn't even learned why washing hands mattered. Hygiene was a foreign concept at home. In class, she naively asked, "What's the Holocaust?" The laughter from her classmates stung with shame, but it lit a spark of curiosity. She dove into books: history, philosophy, science, literature, each one blasting open a window in her mind. For the first time, she saw her father's end-of-days rants as his own delusion, not reality, and the world beyond the junkyard stretched out vast and inviting. But knowledge came at a steep price. Every trip home widened the gulf between her and her family. Her dad scoffed at her books, her mom stayed quiet, and Sean's violence grew worse. Once, Sean grabbed her hair, dragged her into the yard, and slammed her to the ground, all because she wore a skirt he deemed immodest. Tara bore the pain, but inside she wondered, can I keep coming back? She began to see that education didn't just give her facts, it gave her the power to choose, stay or go. That tearing apart is the soul of this book. Have you ever wrestled between love and pain? Tara's story reminds us that growing up often means losing something. She traded home for freedom, but it cost her the warmth of family. It's a tough call, but one she had to face head-on. Let's zoom in on the moments her eyes opened. The first time she read a history book, World War II stunned her. Hunched under a dorm lamp, she flipped pages, trembling at the descriptions of concentration camps. She raced to her professor, asking why her father never mentioned this. He gently replied, maybe he didn't know. That hit her like lightning, cracking open the idea that her dad's truth was a fortress he'd built, and she'd been living in its shadow. Back home, that doubt sparked fights. One night at dinner, her father rambled about government conspiracies, calling hospitals dens of evil. Tara snapped back, if there were no hospitals, Luke would be dead, their brother had been burned, and her mom's herbs couldn't save him. A neighbor's secret 911 called it. Her father exploded, smashing a plate and yelling, "You've been brainwashed by the devil." Her mom wiped the table in silence. Sean smirked at her. In that instant, Tara felt a loneliness she'd never known. She loved this family, but she no longer fit. Her awakening wasn't just mental, it was physical resistance too. Sean's attacks ramped up. Once, he shoved her downstairs, snapping her wrist. Her mom dabbed on Sav, saying, "Just tough it out." But Tara knew this wasn't about enduring, it was about getting out. She started saving cash, plotting her escape. She worked the school cafeteria, sleeping 4 hours a night, stashing every penny. She got thin as a rail, but her eyes burned brighter than ever. Chapter 3. Education's Remaking from Nameless to Known. Tara's college years were a total rebuild of who she was. At Brigham Young, she went from a girl who could barely hold a pen to one crafting essays. She found a knack for history and philosophy, leaving her professors floored by her insight. She remembers reading John Stuart Mill's work on liberty and feeling a jolt. You could live for yourself, not someone else's beliefs. She began questioning everything her father had drilled into her, giving herself a name, a Tara with an identity and a voice. Her journey didn't end there. She got into Cambridge University in England, studying under historian Jonathan Steinberg. Steinberg saw something special in her right away and asked, "Where are you from?" Tara hesitated, then said, "I come from a mountain." He chuckled, "Then you've got a long road ahead." At Cambridge, she stopped feeling like that nameless girl and became someone with a story worth telling. She dug into feminism and religious history, piecing together her past and mapping her future. In the end, she earned a PhD, the first in her family to claim higher education. What did education mean to Tara? It wasn't just stacking up facts, it was rebuilding her identity. She went from a shadow with no birth record to a scholar who could speak in the halls of academia. Her story makes you wonder, is education a tool or a lifeline? For Tara, it's both. It showed her the world's truth and helped her reclaim herself. Let's look closer at her Cambridge transformation. When she first arrived in England, she didn't even know how to use a fork properly. She recalls her first college dinner, wearing a borrowed old dress, sitting at a long table, fumbling as others sliced steak with ease. Tears nearly fell, but she clenched her jaw, watched, mimicked, and learned to fit in. She wrote in her journal, "I'm like a kid, learning to be human again." That clumsy effort was her first step to remaking herself. Academically, her leap was jaw-dropping. She wrote a paper on Mormon history, breaking down how religion molds families. Steinberg called her in after reading it, saying, "Your view is one of a kind because you lived it." That talk flipped a switch. She wasn't a victim anymore. She was a storyteller with power. She started writing about her childhood, not to blame, but to understand. In Cambridge's library, she found a feminist classic and wept at the line, "Silence is the tool of oppression." She realized her dad and Sean had used violence to mute her, but education gave her a voice. Her PhD work zeroed in on 19th-century religious movements, combing through dusty archives for letters that echoed her family's tale. She learned extreme faith often stems from fear, and fear strips away reason. She wove those insights into her dissertation and into her soul. She stopped hating her father and started pitying him, a man trapped by his own terror. Chapter 4: Looking Back, Moving on Love and the Limits of Reconciliation. Even with a PhD, Tara didn't cut ties with her past completely. She kept trying to return to Buck Peak, hoping to make peace with her family. She wanted to tell her dad she wasn't a traitor, just someone living her own life. But every visit turned into a battle. Her father accused her of being brainwashed by the devil, her mom tried healing her mind with herbs, and Sean's violence shadowed her still. In the end, she saw reconciliation came with a catch: she'd have to give up who she'd become to be accepted. This book doesn't wrap up with a fairy tale reunion. Tara chose to walk away for good. She writes in her memoir, "I love my family, but love doesn't mean I have to stay." That line captures the book's tangled emotions. She's thankful her parents gave her life, but she can't stomach their control. She misses the wild mountains of her youth, but not the darkness there. Leaving wasn't betrayal, it was staying true to herself. Her choice makes you think, how far can we forgive those who hurt us? Tara's story doesn't hand you an easy answer, but it offers a lens. Love and freedom don't always mix. Her steps forward honor her past while promising a future. Let's walk through her attempts to go back. The first time, she brought a paper she'd written, hoping to share it with her dad. She said softly, "Dad, I wrote this, maybe you'd like it." He glanced at it, tossed it on the table, and snapped, "What's this junk worth when the end comes?" Her mom urged her to sip some herbal tea to clear her head. Tara fought back tears and left, realizing her success threatened his entire worldview. The second visit, Sean's violence broke her resolve. Dressed in a plain sweater, she sat in the living room, chatting with her mom about college. Sean burst in, sneering, "Books didn't make you less useless." He grabbed her arm, slammed her against the wall, reopening an old wrist injury. Her mom just said, "Don't rile him up." Tara packed her bags and drove off that night. She cried for an hour in the car but vowed it was her last trip. She tried writing letters too, explaining herself. She penned, "I don't not love you, I just want to be me." The letters went unanswered. Later, she heard her dad burned them, calling them the devil's bait. That final break hurt, but it freed her. She understood reconciliation needs mutual respect and her family couldn't give it. Chapter 5. A mirror to society. Extremes reflect the universal. Tara's story might seem out there, but it mirrors broader truths. Her family embodies American survivalism, a mindset not rare in the late 20th century. Her dad's paranoia sprang from distrust of modern society, convinced the end was nigh and the government was evil. That thinking spiked after the Cold War, before the internet took off, especially in rural Western states. Tara's life shows how extreme beliefs can shape and shatter a family. Zooming out, her journey calls out education inequality. How many kids in America miss out on school because of where they're born? Tara's triumph is rare, her struggle is all too common. She also shines a light on hidden family violence. Sean's abuse stayed secret because her family was cut off from the world. Her breakout was a rebellion against that silence. This book's social weight lies in spotlighting overlooked corners. Tara's mountain childhood feels distant, but it ties into everyone's growth. We've all been boxed in by family or society's rules at some point, and her awakening nudges us. Education isn't just a privilege, it's a right. Let's widen the lens on her story. Survivalism runs deep in the US, especially in the 1970s amid economic slumps and Cold War fears, driving folks to ditch cities for the land. Tara's dad was hooked on this vibe, preaching about a millennial kingdom and betting civilization would crash. His junkyard wasn't just a job, it was his fortress against the world. But that self-reliant dream cost his kids big: no healthcare, no schooling, no legal identity. Tara found out she wasn't registered at birth and had to sort it out as an adult. That nameless life marks many survivalist families. Education gaps loom large too. Rural America's dropout rates beat urban ones, and kids like Tara totally off the school grid are a small but stark sign of bigger flaws. Her leap from not knowing the Holocaust to earning a history PhD highlights how uneven the starting line can be. She pulled it off with grit, but most kids never get that shot. Family violence hides in the shadows too. Tara says Sean's abuse started young. He'd threaten her with a knife, punch her face, while her parents looked away. She later saw this silence was baked into their family. Her dad needed Sean's help, her mom feared rocking the boat. After escaping, she learned rural domestic violence isn't rare, just rarely reported, thanks to isolated communities with no lifeline out. Chapter 6. The Peak Within. Faith versus Freedom. Tara's tale isn't just an outward flight, it's an inner trek. Her childhood was soaked in her dad's religious fervor, Mormon teachings, and end times talk, leaving deep marks. She grew up believing she was sinful, her dad saying girls shouldn't think too much. She even thought Sean's beatings were her due punishment. But education cracked those beliefs open, letting her redefine her worth. At Cambridge, she hit on feminist ideas and saw women aren't just sidekicks. She read Simone de Beauvoir, who wrote, "Women aren't born, they're made." That line brought her mom to mind, a sharp, capable woman crushed under her dad's will. She started wondering, is faith just a leash? She recalled her dad's mantra, "Obedience leads to heaven." But she found obedience only erased her. That inner tug of war runs through her whole story. She tried balancing faith and freedom for a while. At Brigham Young, she still hit church services, clinging to her Mormon roots. But every prayer left her hollow. She slowly got it. Her dad's faith was his mountain, and she needed her own. That mountain wasn't Buck Peak, it was a high ground she built with knowledge and guts. Her inner shift had tender layers too. She remembers a night at Cambridge, gazing out her dorm window at church lights, feeling a sudden peace. She stopped fearing the end or her own guilt. She grabbed a pen and wrote, "I'm not God's servant, I'm my own master." It wasn't a rejection of religion, but a claim on her worth. She came to see freedom outranked faith because it let her live true. That change showed in how she saw her family too. She used to hate her dad for his stubbornness and prejudice. But writing this book, she tried understanding him. Dad was driven by fear, he used faith to shield us, but it hurt us too. That forgiveness wasn't weakness, it was her strength shining through. She broke free of her past's grip, choosing insight over bitterness. Closing. Fly to your mountain. Tara Westover's story is a trek from wilderness to classroom. With her own hands, she carved a path from a junkyard to the world. Her life proves education isn't just a hall of learning, it's a ladder to self-rescue. No matter where you start or how low you begin, take that first step, and you can reach your own mountain. This book isn't a fairy tale of success, it's a real record of choices. Tara picked knowledge, freedom, and a break from her past. Her story asks us, what would you choose? Maybe the answer doesn't matter, what counts is we all have the right to choose. As Tara writes at the end, you should be like a bird and fly to your mountain. It's not just her own pep talk, it's a call to every one of us. Where's her mountain? Maybe it's Cambridge's library, or the calm inside her. Where's yours? Maybe it's your next goal, or a dream you haven't chased yet. Tara's tale tells us mountains aren't just out there, they're in us too. If we dare to fly, we'll find our own heights.